Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Join us on Twitter, Cascade Hoop Talk. Hey, today we have Jaret's sons, all conference from Grace College. Jaret played for Grace College all 4 years of his career. He scored over 1,200 points, more than 600 rebounds in his career, a key piece of that Grace College attack over the past 4 seasons. Welcome, Jaret. I'm glad you came on the show.
Hey, Billy. How you doing? Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
No, absolutely. Jaret, I know you grew up in Rushville. You played at Rushville High School. I know you guys had a rough senior season, but, just talk about your high school basketball career.
Yeah, so a little bit about my high school basketball career. I played on the freshman team my freshman year. Didn't really have a huge interest in basketball. Didn't really realize how far I could take this career and how far I could go with it. Then I kind of developed a little bit. I grew into my body a little bit. Went from like 6'1" to 6'4" my freshman to my sophomore year, and I really developed and started growing into my body and understanding how the game of basketball worked. Middle of my junior year, we had a pretty good season. We were against probably one of the best state basketball teams that Indiana's seen in a while, which was the Greensburg team from 2013 and 2014 that had Bryant McIntosh, Ryan Willich, Sean Sellers. Those guys were really good. Those guys gave it to us in high school, so I didn't get to see much out of the state tournament. And then my senior season, it was a wild ride. I had a couple good buddies that we had been playing basketball our whole lives, and we got to our senior year and we just thought, we might have a chance to be somewhat good, and it didn't really turn out like that. I had a couple exciting games my senior year. One that I really remember is against Winchester. They were a 2A team. They were solid. I'm pretty sure they were ranked. It was a huge game at home. It was during the week. A lot of students were there. And I just vividly remember us being down right before overtime, the first overtime, and we hit a bucket to go to first overtime. We get to the first overtime, and it ties it up again. We go to the second overtime, and at the end of this second overtime, there's like 1.5 seconds left, and my coach calls a timeout, and I vividly remember looking at one of my assistants and saying, "Hey, if it comes to me, the shot's going to go in," and I'm telling him right in his right in his eyes, I'm saying, "Hey, I'm going to make this shot if I get the ball." So, my coach draws up this side out of bounds play. There's like 1.8 seconds left. I come to the ball on the right sideline. I don't know if there's a video out there if you guys ever want to look it up. But I come to the ball and then catch it and take one dribble to the right baseline on the right wing and just drill a three. And right at the buzzer sounded. All the crowd went crazy. I remember walking the crowd and high-fiving my dad. It was just a really big moment for my senior year because we didn't really get much out of our senior year. We lost first round of sectionals, and it was just it was good to have that moment during my senior year and be able to enjoy something like that I hadn't really enjoyed my whole career.
Hey, Jaret, that was almost like a Hoosiers moment, right? You just looked at the coach and said, "Give me the ball. I'll hit it."
It was very exciting. That was a good time. I reminisce on that all the time. I have people tell me that, "Hey, Jaret, you remember when you hit that shot against Winchester?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, that was awesome." So I'm very thankful for that moment.
I had Ryan Haskins on. He hit that three that beat Concordia just before the tournament ended. And I teased him. I said, during the timeout, did you look at coach and said, "Give me the ball, I'll make it"?
Yeah, that's good stuff. I remember that.
You got through high school, and then it was, time to decide where to go to college. You're a unique talent. I mean, you're good size. You can shoot from the outside, a good rebounder. Where did you want to play? How did you end up at Grace College? Who recruited you? Just talk about that whole process.
Yeah, for sure. So as funny as it sounds, I was pretty, I would say, not a very highly recruited coming out of high school, but I gained an edge going into my senior year. I played with an AAU team called Grassroots Indiana. It was put together by Jim Reamer. Shout out to him. We had a pretty good team going into my senior year, summer of AAU. It was me, Tate Hall. Tate Hall plays at Loyola Chicago now. Bishop Smith, NAIA American from IU East. Me and him and Tate Hall, we were a duo. We played really good together, and thankfully we got to play some big tournaments. I got recruited by all kinds of mid-majors, not really any high majors because that's big time. But I had actually one school that I had really liked that was a mid-major that I had been to several times. My high school team actually took a camp there one day for like a day camp for some games. We went over there, and that school was right state, and they had given me my first Division I offer as a basketball player, and I was just really excited about that. You don't know that feeling when you get that first scholarship to something, and you're like, dang, this is real. This is what it's going to be like. So that was something that I was really excited about. And the more I got into the process, I was talking to the coaches, and I was like, okay, maybe I want to go to Wright State. So I remember sitting in my living room one night, and it was a Monday night, I believe. I had went to call Wright State's head coach, which was Billy Darnell at the time, and I was telling my dad, I was like, hey, I'm going to go call Coach Donlin and tell him I'm coming to Wright State. And I call, and I'm on the phone for a good 20 seconds, and he tells me, he goes, Jaret, we've been meaning to tell you that your scholarship offer's gone. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean my scholarship offer's gone? You guys just offered me like a month ago. How can it be gone already? And he was like, well, your position, we only had one offer for the 2016 class coming out of high school. And I was like, okay, well, there's no way you could take both of us? And he was like, unfortunately, no, we don't have the money. We can't do that. We gave both you guys deadlines, but we didn't share that with you. And the other kid took the offer before me. So that leaves me in distraught, in a path. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I want to do. And I was at a loss for words. I mean, I had planned to go to Wright State and continue my degree and play basketball there, and it just didn't work out like that. And, in tears, I'm in tears on a Monday night at home, and my dad doesn't know what to do. And I'm sitting there telling him all these things, and he's just like, okay, well, son, it's going to work out. You're still a good basketball player. Things are going to be okay. And I would say maybe a week after that, I get a phone call from Coach Kessler, and he's asked me how I'm doing and stuff like that. That's when I kind of flipped it. I kind of flipped a switch, and I was like, okay, well, Grace College has stuck with me through this whole thing, this whole process, this whole time, everything. And I've kind of put them off, but they've still been there. They stayed consistent and persistent in their path on me. So be it the next 4 years, that's where I spent my career playing basketball, and I'm very thankful for that. It was an opportunity that Coach Kessler and Coach Moore gave to me that not many people can understand what it's like to be given that opportunity and have the things that I did at that school.
Jaret, Grace is only about a couple hours from Rushville. Talk about how important it was for you to be able to play where you could share your career with your family, especially your dad.
Absolutely. Funny as it sounds, I wanted to get away from home, but still wanted to be close enough that I could be around my family. And Winona Lake was the perfect distance for that. I was 2.5 hours from home, close to 2.5 to 3 hours from home, depending on traffic. You know how it is with the 3 seasons in Indiana. So yeah, that was just really important. Like, I've always been a homebody, and my family has always been there on my side to support me in my sports and everything that I've done growing up from little kid all the way through high school and to now through college. Like the relationship that I have built with my parents, primarily my dad, through basketball has been absolutely phenomenal. My dad is the biggest fan of basketball, not just me, but the biggest fan of basketball that I know in general. The guy just eats and breathes basketball, literally eats and breathes basketball. And to have him on my side, being my biggest fan throughout my career was really, really special and awesome to me because, not every parent goes to every single game of their kid's career and is there to take pictures and tell you he loves you and give you a hug, whether you play bad or whether you play good. Like, it just doesn't matter. He's always there. And that was just something so special that I got to have over my career of playing basketball. And it just helped that, that I was closer to home and he could come to everything and be there and just be there around it and enjoy it. And that was just really special to me.
Oh, I think that's fantastic. You're able to, share that with your family and your dad. You talked about loving basketball. You grew up in that Indianapolis area, just an absolute hotbed for high school basketball. So much talent comes out of that region right there. I talk all the time about Carmel and Fishers and, just talk about what it was like to be a basketball player in that area.
Yeah, for sure. High school basketball in Indiana, like you said, is a hotbed for talent. growing up growing up in elementary school and middle school, I look up to these older high school athletes at my high school, and I see all these guys. They're a lot bigger than you, and you're like, dang, that could be me one day. And I want to do what they're doing. I want to play in front of 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people a night in Indiana on Friday and Saturday nights and play basketball. You see that, and you grow up, and you're like, dang, that could be me. And that was me living in that area. You know, I had this thing about the guys in my class. I had Kyle Guy, NBA draft pick, Desmond Bain, he's big time TCU. Guys like that, those are Indiana guys just surrounding this area though. You just don't see the level of the talent that happens if you just don't come out to this area. You see it on social media, but to be able to just live it and breathe it and actually be around it the whole time you're being recruited and being in that kind of atmosphere, it's second to none. When someone says that it's basketball in 49 states, love in Indiana, that just being around that high school atmosphere and being a hotbed for Indiana basketball was just awesome to grow up in. And it, even from Indianapolis all the way to the south, to the southern part of the state, all the way to the northern part of the state, it's just flooded with talent. Kids at small schools, kids at big schools, it just doesn't matter. There's talent everywhere. And that's just one of the unique things about Indiana.
Yeah, I'm just amazed when it seems like every young man I interviewed, regardless of what part of the country he's playing in, is from that area. I mean, that's a hyperbole, but it just seems that way. You played it at Rushville. You ended up at Grace. You didn't know. I understand. You told me you didn't know too much about NAI basketball or the Crossroads. Talk about your freshman year, your initiation into college basketball, into the NAI.
Yeah. Crossroads League basketball, man. Yeah, like you said, I didn't really know really what the Crossroads League was or anything about small college basketball in general growing up. And being able to be initiated into that my freshman year was a huge shock, huge eye-opener for me as an athlete and as a basketball player. You don't recognize it and realize it when you're not there, but the talent that is surrounded the Crossroads League and small college basketball is unbelievable. Being able to be a young 18-year-old kid step into that kind of league, you got to grow up fast. You got to mature quick. And if you don't, you're going to get eaten. That's just how it is, and that's how it's always been. The Crossroads League is I played in it for 4 years. What can I say? It is, in my opinion, one of the best conferences in the country. And it shows it year in and year out, and that's just it was awesome to be able to be a part of that for 4 years and be able to play against the guys that I played against and just being around that and having that talk and having that behind your name, just Crossroads League. People are talking about it all the time, and now that social media and the NEIA is bringing a lot more to small college basketball, it just only makes things bigger for that industry. And I really hope it takes off because there's a lot of unique talent in small college basketball that doesn't get recognized nationally.
No, absolutely. Jaret, when you went down to Grace, it was small college ball. Were you surprised at the talent level when you got there?
Billy, I was surprised. At the same time, I wasn't, because I know that you got to be good to play college basketball, but there's just unreal talent out there that just doesn't get shown because we only see what the media wants us to see, is the big schools, the D1s, all of that. You don't see that lower level basketball because it's not promoted like it is. And that was so shocking to me. You get there and I see these guys that are 6'8", 220 and just doing the same thing that a dude is doing at Duke, but it's just on a higher level. It's just crazy. Crazy to see the talent that is developed in 4 years in a small college basketball, going from a freshman to senior. Like you talk about Mitch Fink, his progression from freshman to senior year is unbelievable. You won't get that anywhere else.
Yeah, there are a number of phenomenal talents. I mean, look at what Mangus is doing. Nick Reed, look what he did. Just the numbers he put up, 3,000 points, well over 1,000 rebounds. Just what Fink, 7th player in basketball, not small college basketball history, to go over 2,100 points and 850 assists or something like that. Just the stuff that these guys are very, very talented, and they're just overlooked because it says NAI after their school name.
It's funny because like just being around the Crossroads League and being around like Indiana Wesleyan and how they have had that statutory all throughout small college basketball, and that's just been really neat to be around because they're like it just proves how talented small college basketball can be.
So, Jaret, you talked about being recruited by Coach Kessler. The first 3 years of your career, you played for Coach Kessler. You know, he was an absolute legend in NAIA basketball. Talk about that experience.
Yeah, Coach Kessler, man, that's an unbelievable person right there, man. One thing that I would like to say about him is I'm sure you've heard it, and people have told it many times, that he does not care about what kind of basketball player you are, but what kind of man you're going to be and how he can teach you and how he can help you and serve you and how he serves the Lord and how he just brings out the best in people. Like playing for Coach K for 3 years was honestly a great time. Like out of all the 3 years that we had that weren't great, like I can tell those are countless stories that I'm never going to forget because that man was there and he was my coach, and you just don't see it because I was there for the last 3 years and I basically just watched it all go. And it was awesome to be a part of that, and it was an honor to have him be my leader for 3 years, and I'll never forget those years at all because he's a really great guy and I'm gonna miss him. And I'm gonna miss being around him at Grace. Like it's crazy. It's crazy not having him on staff this past year.
You know, Jaret, those first 3 years, you guys had good teams, you had good talent, but you talk about how tough that Crossroads is. You just couldn't get over the hump in that Crossroads League and move on to postseason. How disappointing was it that, you couldn't send Coach Kessler off with that dream season?
Yeah, that was tough. Those 3 years we really did. Like we were talented. We had good guys. We had good mixtures. But then for some reason, like there was just times where we didn't mesh well on the floor and things weren't going well, and it's not like it was on purpose. Like literally just happens like that sometimes to teams, and teams got to get out of these ruts, and it takes time. And I truly do wish that we could have felt that last winning feeling with Coach Kessler, because that's all he wanted. He wanted that one more time where he went out, and that's what I believe. And I truly do wish that we could have had that feeling, because it was, he was there for 3 years. He brought us to the Grace. Like he was ultimately still the head coach when I got recruited and all that. Like he's still a part of what we did this last season, and he always will be, because he's Jim Kessler. Like that's just how it was. Like that's how it is. And Grace needs to see that, because I know that Grace sees that, because Jim Kessler is the foundation of Grace basketball, and that's how it is, and that's how it will be, always will be.
So, Jaret, you were a significant performer at Grace from day one. In your freshman season, I think you played in every game. I don't think you started any. You still scored 9 points, 4 rebounds. You had a good sophomore year, a good junior season. And I see this so many times between that junior season and senior season. It was almost like a light switch went off. On your senior season, your output almost doubled, not quite, but almost doubled. Just talk about that transition from a junior to a senior.
So my junior season was a roller coaster ride. I was on the path of thinking that my basketball career was, kind of dwindling out. Wasn't really going to be what it could have been. I had those thoughts all the time. I wouldn't really call it like a depression or a down, more of just a down state about my career in basketball, and how I was okay with it being reprimanded and being done, and just me finishing out my senior year and going on. And so what? Jaret played college basketball 4 years, good deal. So be it. And that's just kind of what happened my junior year. I kind of just fell into that, and I had lost my confidence, and I just wasn't the same person that I had been. I was telling myself that I just didn't like and love basketball anymore. And deep down, truly, I knew that I did, but I was telling myself in my brain that I didn't like it. And after that season was over, I was so ready for my junior year to be done, because I don't even remember what we were in conference. It doesn't matter. It was horrible. But I was just ready to get that junior season over with. And after that junior season, like you said, I flipped a switch, and I started thinking about it and was like, okay, I'm a senior. I'm going to be a senior this year. I've been here for 3 years. I've been a pretty big contributor my whole 3 years. Like, I've been around the program. I'm just like, I'm well known. Like, this is it. Like, it's either now or never. And I had that switch, and I was like, okay, this is senior year. I just started working out. I got back into fall. I fell back in love with like working out all the time and getting in the gym and getting in the weight room, and I got my body right back to my senior year, and I grew my confidence. I like just being in the gym all summer and just being able to get back to where I should have been, but I just kept telling myself I wasn't there. And now that I got there, I had an excellent senior season, and I'm so thankful that I credit that to all of my teammates. Like, you know, they were there through me from freshman to senior year. Even the guys that left when I was a freshman to now that the guys are freshmen when I'm a senior. Those guys are all I give all my credit to them because they made me better every day in practice. Like, if I don't go to practice every day and they're not there guarding me, or I'm not there guarding them, and they're making me better, then I don't get as good as I am. I don't be as good as I am because I don't have my teammates there, and I don't have my coaches pushing me. And that's just how I've always looked at it, because I've always been a team guy, and I've always wanted to play on a team that wanted to win. And that's just kind of how our team went this year. You know, we had 5 guys that contributed 10 points a game. Like, you don't get that on teams. That's something that I was really thankful for to be a part of on this past season, because it was something that I had wanted such a long time. There's no individualness. It was literally all about playing 5-on-5, playing team basketball, and that's just something I had wanted, and I got it. I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, Jaret, you know, it had to be pretty rewarding because you were a really key piece to that team this year. Like, as I said, your output doubled. To see that at the same time that Grace College basketball really has such a fine history and tradition, made that resurgence this year. And you went into visiting gyms this year, and they had that fear in their eyes like they used to.
Yes, sir.
That had to feel good that you were able to bring that program back to where it had been.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels good, you know, leaving the program in those hands. Like, I feel good stepping away from the program after being a senior and being there for 4 years. Like, I know that they're going to do good things, and that's how us, these past 5 seniors on this team, that's how we wanted to leave it. And I think we all feel that we've done our job, that we have done our job, and that it's going to be in good hands for these coming years.
Yeah, Jaret, you guys had 2 big monster road wins in January that really cemented your place in the rankings and, you know, getting you a good spot in the national tournament. You went on the road, you beat Bethel and then St. Francis. Your teammates really credit you during that period of the season for really pulling them through. In fact, in those 2 games, you scored 25 and 23.
Where I was never in any kind of groove, but those 2 games at Bethel and the St. Francis games, that was where Jaret's son was playing phenomenal basketball. I think he had like 25 and 12 one game, and then he had another double-double with over 20 points in the St. Francis game. He was terrific, and he really kept us in that game. And then in overtime,
you know, talk about that stretch. And you talked about you struggled your junior year, and then in the key part of the season, you were able to pull your team through. You know, how rewarding was that?
Yeah, I would say, like I was saying, like, I hadn't had much confidence my junior year, and I started to gain this confidence back. And, you know, I in high school, I was the same way. I fed off my confidence. I make one shot, you know, you feel good. And I don't know, like, from that switch flipping from my junior to senior year and that stretch this past season of me playing that kind of basketball, you know, it all came down to me as a player having short-term memory, and that was something I struggled with something I've struggled with personally my whole career. And, you know, like that stretch of this last season, like, I kept telling myself every single day that I just have to have short-term memory. I have to move on when mistakes happen. I have to move on when shots don't go in. I have to move on when I turn it over. I have to move on when coach gets in my butt. Like, I can't do that. Like, I gotta move on. I gotta get away from just dwelling on that. And, you know, that's something that I really took pride to do, and I did it, and I produced the way I did. I had those outcomes. Yeah, it was me doing it, but like my teammates had to pass me the ball. My point guard had to set me a down screen. Like they had to help me get open. They had to give me the ball. They had to distribute and find ways for me to be successful. And like I'm grateful for that. Like I said before, like my teammates are the reason that I played the way I played this year. They gave me confidence. They wanted me to take the shots. They weren't saying, Jaret, don't take shots. They were trusting me to take the shots when I needed to take the shots, and that was a very rewarding feeling, knowing that my teammates trust me to do what I needed to do to get wins. And that's how team basketball works, because it's no different than me setting a down screen or doing something for someone, doing something for one of my teammates. It's just how it is. And or to have that feeling of cohesiveness within our team, and it was awesome. It was great to have everybody all in, and that's what it felt like my whole senior year. And I'm just forever grateful for that.
You know, Jaret, you talked about that, struggling to get over, a miss or a turnover. I see that so often really kind of plague players where, they'll make a mistake and they compound it with a silly foul, or they'll compound it with another turnover. Mentally, how did you overcome that?
Yeah, it's funny that you ask. I vividly remember my freshman year of college. We were on a road trip in Virginia, I believe. I believe we were in West Virginia, but it was a road trip to Virginia because we were playing Radford in Virginia over an exhibition over Christmas time. And I vividly remember sitting in the hotel on a Friday night after we had just played West Virginia Tech in West Virginia, and I vividly remember sitting in the hotel room, or not, it wasn't even in the room. We were sitting in the hotel hallway, me and Coach Moore. And we were sitting there talking about, because I had a moment that game against West Virginia Tech. And, I had Coach Bowen, Eric Bowen was a senior that time, or was a junior at the time, actually. And he had got into my butt a little bit on the bench. And Coach K got into it with me, and Coach Moore got into it with me a little bit. And it's funny that I can laugh about it now because I've matured and it's just so much different. But, there was that time we were sitting in the hallway out in the hotel room after that game, or in the hotel after the game, and Coach Moore, we were sitting there, and it was like probably midnight, maybe a little after midnight. It was just me and him out there in the hallway, and he was telling me a bunch of stories about him in college and how he had dealt with things and stuff like that. And he just wanted to tell me, he was like, we're gonna start saying these three things every day. And it was being a great teammate, having great effort, and having a great attitude. And if I did those three things every single day, if I told myself to do those three things every single day, I would eventually get rid of that long-term memory. I would develop a short-term memory and be able to move on from things and mistakes and stuff like that. And ever since that day, I always think about that. And he's always been there and told me that you got to be a great teammate, you got to have a great attitude, and you got to have great effort. And if you do those three things, everything else will take care of itself. Because he always told me that I was talented enough to play basketball and do the things that I wanted to do. I just needed to take care of the things that were non-negotiable. And that's what I did. Here we are.
You brought up Coach Moore, first-year head coach, but he's a Grace guy through and through. What has he brought to the table, and what is Coach Moore meant to Grace basketball?
Yeah, Coach Moore is, I love the guy to death, man. He really brings an intense passion to Grace basketball, and I think that he was under Coach K for 8 years. I mean, he has one of the best leaders of all time. He was able to learn and grow from someone that did it for 42 years. Like he was, like Coach Moore. It's hard to say because he's young and it was his first year, and it was a really great year. It was a really successful year, and it's going to be hard to stay on that track and keep going. And I know that he'll have no problem because he's had the great leadership. He's had everything that he's needed, and he's got the guys. The guys are bought in. He's got my previous teammates, his guys, like they're ready to play. They want to play, and they're going to do what he says, and they're going to do it his way. And that's just so awesome because that cohesiveness in a team is what will win championships. And I think it'll be really exciting to see how Grace does in the coming years, because I know Coach Moore is going to run a tight ship, and he's going to keep his guys in line, and I'm just very excited to see how it goes.
Have you ever played with a better shooter than Charlie Warner?
I honestly can say I have not. It's close, but it's not. He is an absolute weapon, I would say. I mean, the guy was unbelievable. I don't know. It's just crazy to see his game develop over our 4 years of college. I mean, I respect him so much. He's an unbelievable guy, an unbelievable player.
Yeah, his shooting numbers are just through the roof.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. What was it like? What was he from career for three? Like 48?
Yeah, almost 50. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's crazy.
So talk about shooting. Your first three years at Grace, you averaged about 75% from the line. And then you get to your senior season and you shoot almost 90% from the line. Was that a concentrated effort? Did you change something?
I would say probably a concentrated effort, It's funny that you say that because I remember early on my senior year, me and Hayden Deaton would practice free throws after practice, and he would, and we would jokingly joke around, try to make each other miss and stuff like that. And I was like, I haven't missed a free throw yet this season, and I was like, I'm gonna try to go 100% and see how far I can go. And then it kept going and kept going. And, I finally missed, but still maintained a good percentage. And I just kind of had that in the back of my mind all season. And so I would say it's probably just a concentrated effort.
That's a huge part of your game, especially when you get on the inside. Of course, you shoot a lot of threes, but you get on the inside as well. I mean, it really it makes you so much more potent because if they foul you, they pay for it.
Yep.
In the Crossroads this year, there was only two teams that swept you guys. One was Indiana Wesleyan, and they were kind of a juggernaut this year. And the other one was Spring Arbor. What was it about the matchup with Spring Arbor that you think they were able to sweep you?
We had some battles against them that I remember going to their place specifically and just, I don't know, it was literally a battle the whole game. It was punches back and forth. It was never I don't think the time we went up to their place, I don't think there was more than a 6-point lead or a 4-point lead and with the way that Spring Arbor plays, you get a 6 or 8-point lead, it's hard for them to come back. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, they kept it right there with us. They matched up with us well. They guard well. They're really well coached. I mean, their coach is unbelievable too. I don't know. It was just they still have that chip on their shoulder, and I truly don't know what to say. Like, they did it. They beat us twice. The time we were there, BD hit the hook shot and hit it. I don't even remember if it was overtime or regulation, but he hit the game winner, and we needed that win. We didn't need it, but it would have been nice to have that win just for pole positions and stuff like that. But yeah, it was just a tough matchup every time. Even throughout my 4 years of playing them, it was always tough with Paul and Jeff Beckman, man. Like, Jeff Beckman is a hell of a player. That guy can really play basketball.
Yeah, Beckman and Meredith, they've got some real talent. But why is Brandon Darnell so hard to guard? He's not really flashy. What is it that makes him hard to guard?
Yeah, I would say he's really, really. You would think he's going to bulldoze you, but he's not going to bulldoze you. He's going to bulldoze you, but finesse you at the same time. He's got a finesse game around the rim with his post game, and I really respect that, because you see guys that are an undersized post guy, and you would think that they're going to launch the ball at the rim and stuff like that, but he's really got nice touch around the rim. He knows how to get around you with moves. He knows how to counter those moves, all kinds of things like that. So I would say that's what makes him a very talented and efficient scorer, because he's been big for them too. And he was All-American last year, was honorable mention this year, I think.
He's such a big part. He's only a junior. He's coming back. He's going to have a monster year next year.
He'll have a great year next year, and he'll be a huge piece of them again.
Jaret, I got to ask you about the Taylor game. You guys did not. I watched it. You guys did not play well. You really didn't deserve to win, but it looked like Charlie tied it up. And everybody talks about that, but your announcers said, "Oh, we're going to overtime," and then of course Dagan Kolb just launched one. Look what I found, kind of thing. Just talk about the up and down of that. Here, you thought you had avoided elimination, you saved it from the fire, and then of course. And then not only did that happen, but you had to hear about it on Sports Center and all blah, 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 blah.
I vividly remember that as well, too, just because that's the last game I played in in my college career.
Yep.
So I remember grabbing the rebound at the end, or grabbing the rebound before Charlie hit his shot, because I'm the one who outletted it to him, and I was trailing him because I knew he was going to take it because he was already at half court. I had just rebounded the ball under the basket because Taylor was getting back on defense, and Chuck was already standing at half court, so I outletted it to him. You know, he took his 2-3 dribbles and let it fly, and it banks in, and I'm going crazy, and the crowd's going crazy, and I'm telling all my team to get back, don't foul. I'm waving my arms back, and I see I see the ball get inbound, and I see Mason have it, and he takes one dribble, and I'm standing at the free throw line. I know you've probably seen the video multiple times. He launches it. I literally watch it as it rainbows over my head to go into the rim, and as soon as it goes in, I instantly just put my head to the floor, and it was just an unbelievable feeling. Like the wave of emotions that went in a matter of 3 seconds are just unbelievable, and you don't experience that all the time. It was a really cool game and an atmosphere to be in, but I wish we were on the other side.
So, Jaret, you went from that, you went out to Sioux Falls, you never got to play. You guys were at the Pentagon. Talk about that lead up to finding out there's just no more basketball.
I remember vividly that Wednesday night we were at Firehouse Subs having dinner the night before our first game. We were just going to grab a quick bite and then head back to the hotel and get some rest. And everybody's phones notifications were going off that the NBA had canceled the season. And, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, NBA, it's one of the biggest basketball organizations, and if not the biggest basketball organization in the world. And they're canceling it, and they're just canceling the remainder of their season. And I'm thinking, like, okay, well, here I am in Sioux Falls at a college basketball national tournament. Am I gonna see this out? So it goes on and everything, and we get over there the next day, and you know, we get up and do our thing, have breakfast, do our devotion, stuff like that, go over scout, talk about West Virginia Tech, and we get over there and we're sitting on the bleachers on the outside by the practice courts around the Pentagon, and we're watching the game. We're watching the end of the Spring Arbor game, and then we come back, or not the Spring Arbor game, or I believe it was
Ottawa.
Ottawa, yeah, Ottawa.
Yeah. Concordia.
Concordia, yeah, because Concordia hit the winner. And I remember that game being over, and we were waiting to go walk into our locker room because, like, we're all standing there by the big glass doors with our bags on, our travel suits. We're ready to go in and get our stuff on and start warming up because you only get 10 minutes, I believe, before the next game. And Coach Moore comes walking back through the glass doors, and as soon as I see him, it was just written all over his face. Like I could not know. As soon as he said, everybody get over here right in front of the camera where they were taking the team pictures, and he got us in a huddle, and he was like, NEI president just called and said that they're canceling the rest of the national tournament effective immediately after this game. And it was just, from there, it was just a puddle of tears, you know, like we worked so hard for that moment to get to that, to be there, to get there for 4 years. We had worked so hard, whether it was going to be in Branson my freshman year or whether it was going to be in Sioux Falls my sophomore, junior, senior year. It didn't matter. We just wanted to get to the national tournament, and we were finally there. And for it to be literally just taken from us to where we have no control over anything was an absolutely gut-wrenching feeling because, like I said, like that's what we had. We wanted it so bad. That's what we had worked for our 4 years. Like, and we were finally there. I actually finally had the chance to play in a national tournament and play for a championship, and it was tough, but you know, you got to go on. Like, I mean, life moves on, it keeps going, and thankfully I had an awesome senior year, and I'm just forever thankful for that. And it was tough. It was tough being around not just my teammates, but every single other basketball player in the world or in the country, wherever at, that lost something because of this virus. Like sports is a big deal in people's lives, and just to see so much just be taken away from everyone and all these kids, it just really sucks because I know people really love their sports, and it's tough to see how it panned out and how it's still panning out.
Hey, Jaret, what has it meant to you to be a piece of or a part of Grace basketball?
For me, just being able to say that I was a part of a tradition and a legacy that Grace basketball has held for a really long time is something that I'll hold near and dear to my heart because not everyone gets a chance and opportunity to play college basketball, but especially at a place like Grace College, like those people care about you. they care about the kind of person you are, not just what kind of athlete you can be in 4 years. Like it's really been truly an honor to be a part of a legacy that Grace basketball has held for a really long time, from Coach Kessler on to Coach Moore and to the future. Like it's really been an honor to be a part of that.
Yeah, and you should be very proud of what you've been able to accomplish and being part of such a proud program there.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, Jaret, I really appreciate you being on. I was very happy you decided to come on. Do you need to do me a favor? Please check with your dad and make sure he's not mad at me still for picking West Virginia Tech over you guys.
Of course, yes. I'm sure when he hears this that he'll be thinking about that. That's funny that you said that, because he was telling me, he was like, well, Grace basketball, he doesn't know nothing about Grace basketball. I'm sure that's just the heat and the heart that he has behind basketball, and I'm sure it was nothing personal. He appreciates everything that you do. So.
Well, he's right. I really don't know anything about Grace basketball.
Sir, not out there on the West Coast.
Yeah. No, Jaret, I appreciate you being on. I really enjoyed you taking the time, and thank you very much.
Yes, of course, Billy. Thank you for having me on. I'm glad we could sit down and talk about this.